So today we spoke about tokenization in the context of the metaverse and all things to come. And I think it's an amazingly strategic topic because, I mean, just to extrapolate 5 to 10 years, we'll have a lot of different metaverses, some coming from big tech, maybe some from the blockchain community. But in all of those, you will need to secure the valuable assets somehow through tokens, somehow through blockchain technology. So I think this was really a great discussion today. Thank you. Why is this a very emotional topic for me? Because when I was a student, that was in the 90s, I was really fascinated by, back then we called this cyberspace, some of you will remember that. And the cyberspace was basically the idea of virtual worlds that are happening online. Thank you very much, Jason. And I did my PhD on that. I spent like about 3-4 heavy years researching what makes virtual communities tick. And if you speak to metaverse people around the world, all they're really obsessed with is creating community in the metaverse, because an empty metaverse is dead in the water. So Rare is a great example. They have a very large followership, players, but they're not creating yet the community. So I was really researching a lot. I had a grant to go to the MIT. So this is now almost like full circle 30 years later. All these dreams of 3D virtual worlds are coming to life. Second, I have a bit of a knack on creating associations, as you can see. And I can proudly say last Thursday we went live with the Swiss Metaverse Association. So of course, this is a great opportunity to fill you in on this and give you some of the key cornerstones of that. But today is about the metaverse, and I'm looking at this from a strategist's perspective. I'm looking at this from a business potential. And as a businessman myself, as some of you may remember, I used to be here with suit and tie and a PwC pin. So I was the former head blockchain PwC for EMEA. We did the ICO report. I created my own company, and my own company is inspired by the Singularity University in the US, in California, which is really giving you a great positive brainwash about exponential tech. And what we want to do with Singular is basically surf these exponential waves and also become very broad. So what we are doing in the company is basically we're working on multiple angles. One angle is longevity, so how do we all live happily and vitally longer and better. We're looking at smart city, smart mobility, so how do we live, how do we move from A to B. And then we have, this is like a hashtag, we call it our hashtag, and then we have 2 horizontal technologies. One is AI, which I think is absolutely key also for the metaverse, and we'll come to that. Second, obviously, is blockchain, right? So good news for all blockchainers here, yay. And this hashtag is where we operate in. We have a VC fund, which is called the Singular XTF, Exponential Tech Fund, where we do early stage seed finance into mostly predominantly European startups that are operating in the hashtag. We have an advisory unit, and we have a tech lab, which we call X Labs. And then just for fun, we also launched the 4th company, which is Singular NFT. And as the name already gives it away, this is an NFT kind of shop, but this is a pro bono non-profit art collection of NFT art, and I'll talk about that also very shortly. So this is kind of the whole universe. I'm moving around, and we're having lots of fun. And interestingly, with the advisory unit, so we're only 2 years old. Corona hit us, right? We founded in early 2020, and our first 3 projects were all metaverse related. I mean, it was a real coincidence. So we worked on a large brand in New York in fine art photography, did their NFT strategy. We worked for a conglomerate out of Hollywood. People that say, we in Hollywood, we know storytelling, we know about 3D worlds. We're going to make the metaverse come alive and commercially very viable. And most recently, we worked for a big property and real estate and mall operator business in the Middle East that operate some of the malls. Maybe some of you have already been in shopping, and they have seen that all their luxury brands, we spoke about Richemont before, for example, they are all doing their NFTs, they're maybe opening their own metaverse shops. So they were thinking 2 steps ahead and said, well, if they all go metaverse and we just operate a physical mall, maybe eventually that can impact our bottom line and top line. So let's think about it. And we did a very large scale strategy project on that. So a lot of what you see in the thinking in the coming slides is kind of inspired by all these projects. This is something I've been kind of propagating for a long time, and most of you have been part of the ride. I call this the exponential curve of digital assets, crypto, blockchain, however you want to call it. We all started with payments and simple trading, brokerage lending, and it got more and more complex. Finally, we got all the banks into the party. So derivatives, futures, swaps, fund solutions, ETFs, ETPs, the full Monty, fully regulated with ISIN codes, stablecoins, CBDCs, some stablecoins maybe less stable than others. Most interestingly, of course, staking, DeFi, and finally NFT. And I'm just taking a step here, and I'm just writing Metaverse at the far end. So this is where it's all going to move into, and I think it's like a natural evolution, and we're going to see ourselves very soon in the Metaverse. As asset classes, so when I talk with bankers, these are the ways to invest into the blockchain, into crypto, but also into the Metaverse, right? Because you can invest into cryptocurrencies and make a bet that Ethereum is going to play an important part, maybe thanks to Dragonfly. You can do VCPE, which is the most smartest thing to invest. If you heard about Animoca Brands, one of the biggest VC plays in the Metaverse, in Web3, they started out just with early stage VC, which is also why we do VC. Then you have all the beautiful bankable ISIN stuff, the tokenization things, which is basically like a derivatives, and then you got DeFi and NFT, which I call wild country. Why? Of course, because there's a lot of issues with that included. So I'll just show you some statistics on that before maybe the classification. I'm glad Sorare was mentioned. Now being a startup and having more time on my hands, when I do Metaverse, I really want to experience myself. So I've done all the alphas of Sandbox. I'm playing actively Sorare just to understand the mechanics and see, the wave that's coming there, because it's really redefining sports. You have other games. So a lot of the NFTs are actually gaming assets. You got the collectibles. I think that's a great use case, right? There's a lot of people that like collectibles. And then you have the infrastructure tokens, you have the virtual land, and fundamentally you have everything that is falling under the NFT art. Of course, you can always argue what is art, what ain't, but I think in the Metaverse, the users, the people that populate the Metaverse, they're gonna decide what they like and what they're gonna hang in their apartments, virtual or physical, at home, right? Because as you may have seen, we had a good discussion yesterday. If you live a lifestyle with 4 houses in 4 different parts of the world, what you can do is basically have an NFT collection, buy yourself Samsung screens. This is not an advertisement for Samsung, but most TV producers adding now MetaMask wallet functionality inside, so you can basically move from house to house and always carry your NFT collection kind of with you and have it present wherever you want, right? Obviously the NFT collection stays where it are, but you just upload it on the TV. Lots of use cases. Those of you who've been in NFT, and we with Singular NFT, we started luckily somewhere there in July 2021. You probably remember there was a huge hype curve towards the end of 2022. Now it's been cooling down significantly, but I wouldn't just give up yet. If you look at another statistic, I like this one, which shows kind of the places NFTs get traded, and this is all NFTs, from collectibles to art. It's interesting because for a long time, OpenSea was seen as, the one platform that binds them all and kind of rules them, right? Then there were some, let's say, highly curated platforms, so there are like Foundation and Nifty Gateway, etc. But out of the blue came Blur, and Blur at one point now really took over the market share from OpenSea. So it shows that the decks are stacked and the tables are still turning, and no one really knows where stuff will get traded in 5 to 10 years. So I think this is showing the dynamic of the NFT space. Now, there's also the disadvantages and risks. My personal experience, I've been a consultant for 18 years. I've done a lot of blockchain projects. Usually when you do blockchain projects, you have either tech people there, or increasingly I had bankers. But even bankers are pretty savvy when it comes to cybersecurity risks. They're savvy about regulation. These are all things that a banker typically has on his or her mind a lot of the time. Now that I'm working a lot in Metaverse with sports companies, with artist collectives, with people from different walks of life, the fashion luxury industry. For these people, regulation and cybersecurity are less of a focus, and it's some things they simply don't care, which is dangerous, because in some of our projects we had these discussions with the fair artists, 30 artists in a room, and we said, yeah, okay, that's how we're going to mint your NFTs, and they were like, oh, I don't want to burn the planet. I heard there's this great protocol XYZ. Why don't we use this? This is so amazing, and a tree gets planted for every token transfer or something. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, there's 5 nodes and there's one guy running them all, and no, we're not going to do that because that project can disappear. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen there. And this is just a statistic that shows you, I'm glad, Thomas, you also said, I mean, bridges look beautiful, but at least in the DeFi space and the blockchain space, they often get hacked. And Axie Infinity is a good example from, you could call Metaverse play to earn, that suffered tremendously from a 400 million hack on a Ronin bridge, and yeah, they've recovered, but they're not where they were before the hack. So this is my ladder of amazing numbers. Given you're a very sophisticated audience, I of course you will know what the numbers stand for. 2009 was when Satoshi Nakamoto released the paper, he or she. 15 was, yeah, Ethereum finally saw the light, and then 18. Okay, right, that's Guido Schmidt's Krummenacher, finally. I mean, this is, come on guys, you should know that. Thank you, Guido, for that. I would have. Yeah, no, I mean, 18 was the crazy time, both when, you know, we recovered from the ISO, but for me personally, it's the age of adoption, corporate adoption. Pre-2018, we didn't have, you know, the banks interested, the big corporations interest. For me, 18 was the moment. I saw this as a consultant, right, at PwC, head of blockchain. All the requests that came in, they came from larger and larger organizations. And then 2021, for me, is the birth of the metaverse. I mean, this is where, obviously you can say, well, there was a metaverse already 30 years ago, but this is where things get real, where, you know, games attract 40 million players, where Roblox and all these things are shaping up. So I'd like to just give you some visuals, and then I'll also try to give you a definition of what the metaverse actually is. Who of you knows Hatsune Miku? Any fans? Google it if you have time. No, go on YouTube. So it is a famous virtual star in Japan. I mean, it's a female character, but it's fully artificial. It's basically an avatar that gets projected on stage. And what you see here is a Hatsune Miku concert. The band is real. She's an avatar. The voice that is singing is a person in the background singing, or it's being recorded. And the audience is real. So Hatsune Miku fills stadiums with 50, 60,000 people. It's an artificial star. It's a virtual star. And for us here, maybe in the Western Hemisphere, feels awkward, right? Why would I ever pay money to go to a concert and then I see a dancing avatar and singing? But people do in other parts of life. And I think Hatsune Miku is a good example to show you the potential of the metaverse. Imagine if we see new stars, new musicians, slam poets, what have you, you know, operate in the metaverse, and maybe there's a human behind it, maybe not, maybe no one cares, right? I mean, this is a superstar, and she's been in business now for many, many years. She will never age, right? She can give 10 concerts on the same evening, no drug issues, no whatsoever. I mean, it's a fully controllable star. I mean, any producer and record label has been dreaming of that probably since the early days, right? Another example, probably some of you have played Fortnite. You don't have to raise your hands, it's okay. It was, of course, your kid, but I did, and I loved the gamification of the seasons they introduced. At one season, it was just a dark screen, and you were like, shit, their servers crashed, so is the game over, what's happening? So I think Fortnite is a good case study if you want to understand how to engage maybe the next generation of the metaverse population, so not us, but you know, the younger ups, and this is amazing. I mean, again, it's all on YouTube. Google for Travis Scott gives a concert in Fortnite. Really amazing. acoustically, visually, I mean, it's perfectly thing. It was just a movie kind of thing that was recreated, but then the players were inside and watching this thing out of Fortnite. So it was pretty cool, I must say. And then Decentraland as an example, you're all familiar with that. I mean, actually this was an old project, right? It used to be 2D. I remember having a question from a journalist in 2017 asking me, you know, what is it with this virtual real estate on Decentraland? It was still 2D, but they made a curve, and now it's actually quite a successful first maybe instance of a metaverse. This is a screenshot from my explorations on Sandbox. This is actually Snoop Dogg's own villa. Snoop Dogg is a famous American rapper, and he or his team, probably more his team, have actually created amazing metaverse experiences. So like, for example, his house where he lives, if you look for him, you don't find him because he's always in a different room, so there's a gamification element to it, but there's this whole entourage and you actually have to do little quests, little riddles, you have to do stuff for him, so get him a pastrami sandwich because he's hungry. There's music playing, obviously his music. So it's still an alpha thing in Sandbox, but I felt like being there with a lot of other players from around the world, it shows you the potential that it can have, and there are some artists that are already riding the bandwagon. Steve Aoki, the DJ Deadmau5, and Snoop, and many others will follow. But it shows the potential of the metaverse thing. And this is from a partner company out of Portugal and Dubai. I mean, they create professional virtual environments in the metaverse for clients, for companies who want that. I want to show you this one because this is, as a sailor, as a boatsman, I like that stuff. So this is a virtual luxury yacht, a so-called white boat, and they are limited edition, and they go for 100K. So if anyone here in the audience wants to be a proud owner of such a boat, which is actually a metaverse instance, so you can visit it as an avatar, you can invite friends there. I think max capacity is 50 or 100, but you can spawn other instances, and it's pretty awesome. So when you walk on it, I was there walking, I mean, it looks as nice in the picture, and it is a virtual. The boat owner is getting a run for his money. So it's more expensive than a real boat, huh? Well, your avatar can get sunburned if someone programs it, yeah.
This boat doesn't crash.
Yeah, no repairs on the engine. So just to show you some examples from the metaverse, so we created this Metaverse Collective, which is again pro bono. There are 19 people from Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore. Hotspot is in Manila, Philippines, Dubai, and some in Europe. And what we're basically doing is events in the metaverse all around collecting art. If anyone's interested, ping me an email and I can send you access to our gallery. I mean, we're just sharing basically the fun. 2 weeks ago, we had 33 CEOs of Swiss SMEs at an event that we had to explain to them what the metaverse is. And we did something very daunting, a high-risk thing. We split them in 3 groups, and one group was going on a art exhibition, a guided tour through an art exhibition. That was the one on the left-hand side. It's pretty unique and nice pieces of NFT art. The total value of what is exhibited there is probably around $1.5 million. So it's not just cheap NFT that is in there. Obviously, your average punks and apes and you know the stuff that usually ranks very high. But then also a lot of very, very good artists from around the world that are not famous, but that just do art. And we let those CEOs through that room, and we were ready to just get like people walk out and say, this is total nonsense. Why are we doing this crap? But the response was actually surprisingly very, very positive. It took them it was a 45-minute tour, really well storytelling. If you ever visited the gallery or a museum, a guided tour, you know that's a lot about the narrative and the storytelling. If they just tell you, this is a guy with a sword and this is a lady with a flower, I mean, that's boring. But if you know someone gives a nice narrative, who the artist is, why she painted this, what is the story, is there multiple pieces? I mean, that brought the thing alive. So actually we got excellent feedback on the art gallery tour. We also opened up something in Decentraland, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's time to experiment, and let me give you an attempt at a definition, right? I think what makes the metaverse both exciting but also extremely complex, and I always say provocatively, there are no metaverse experts. Not in this room and not outside this room. No one can claim that he or she is an absolute expert in all these 4 spheres, because I see the metaverse as a collision of 4 different spheres. One sphere is obviously big tech. So yeah, we always like to talk about user-driven, token-driven economies and communities, but the reality is the big techs are not really letting all this happen. They want to have their stake as well. Meta, for example, or Microsoft or AWS. I mean, a lot of the big techs are coming in. They're coming in with cloud. I disagree with some previous mentions of IPFS. I mean, just because everyone uses IPFS, I wouldn't say this is a future-proof solution for the metaverse. We did some tech projects and we found a lot, I mean, there's a lot of issues with IPFS. So the cloud providers have analyzed that and they will come with clouds built for the metaverse. This is going to be a huge market. They come with VR, AR devices. Check out if you find a way to check out the new Meta Pro, Oculus Pro, which is extremely expensive, $1,300 or $1,200, but it's a real step up. I think Google does another attempt. So there will be devices, but you can experience the metaverse on your phone or on your computer, right? That is one sphere. So the big techs are moving in, and they're moving in heavy. I mean, you can read the numbers up in reports, 20 billion here, 200 billion there. So they are coming in. At the same time, we, as you know, the Crypto Mountain crew, we're coming in from the left side, and we say, no, it's user-driven. You know, we bring the blockchain, but I think we add a lot of value to this ecosystem because my claim is, yeah, you can run Fortnite and Roblox and World of Warcraft beautifully without blockchain, but you know, in the future, you want to have these assets better secured, and blockchain offers just so many advantages. So a lot of the metaverse, maybe not all, but a lot of the metaverse applications will have, you know, linkages into that world. Then obviously the gaming, the 3D multi-user experiences. I mean, these are the people that understand how to design 3D worlds and make them attractive. So in our work now on the malls, obviously we teamed up with gaming companies that are able not just to create stunningly beautiful 3D experiences, but they also know how gamification works. Because imagine the most beautiful game that is boring as hell, you're not going to play it after 2 days. You're just going to say, screw it. If it's too difficult or too easy, you're not going to play it. So what these companies can do as a capability, they can keep you always, you know, the carrot is always moving a little with the stick, and you keep playing, new level, new toys, new stuff. Yeah, I want to upgrade. Yeah, I want to have this mansion in GTA 4 or whatever. So they keep you engaged, and this is a skill that obviously we blockchainers don't have much knowledge about. They also have a patch track record, so that knowledge is worth a lot. So it's not just the designing of beautiful 3D environments, it's also they know how to get people in, and admittedly also younger people, which is probably going to be the future population in the metaverse. I mean, just in Southeast Asia, you have like 800–900 million people, age I think 15 to 25. I mean, that's a huge potential. I mean, and these are the ones that are currently playing Axie Infinity. It's not, you know, the 35-year-old banker in Zurich. And then most importantly, the brands, right? I mean, Mark Baumann, who is here, thankfully he's done an amazing list of all the brands that play in the metaverse, so we should give big kudos to him for doing all that work, because every day there's news about it. I mean, I've seen this in our work with the mall. I mean, all the big brands are making bets, you know, Puma, Nike, but then Gucci, etc. You can look it up in his list, and they are coming in hard, and of course they are defining the reality. If they are all in there and they're producing stuff there, virtual, physical, phygital, or how you want to call it, that's gonna attract its audience, but so do the creators and so do also the influencers. So the influencers will always use the platform that has the most people in it and the most potential to grow. And as the metaverses will expand, they will all come in here. So the musicians, the DJs, you know, some first forerunners like Steve Aoki have already seen it, and they're doing it very aggressively. So this is one attempt to define it. It's the collision of 4 totally different worlds, right? Because none of these worlds in the past have been really interconnected. But then if you read the news, you notice that some big tech companies are suddenly buying gaming companies. You know, Blizzard went over the table, etc. And you may think maybe they have the same diagram painted on their flip charts in their boardrooms. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a coincidence. So take this maybe out in 5 years' time and see what's been happening. Very quick, if you give me 2 more minutes, this is the update on the Swiss Metaverse Association. We've created that The project started...
That's politics, stop that.
Why politics?
No, an association will play an important role, I would assume, because there will be regulation. No, I like it, of course.
We're basically, I mean, to be honest, I've been part of the CVA ride, you know, and the problem with the CVA at one point was we didn't have enough leverage in Bern.
Right.
It's that simple. So then in came SBF, and with SBF we have the leverage in Bern, maybe not as much as we would have liked. And this is a bit the same idea, right? You're basically bringing in the tech people, the companies, the brands, and you make sure you get advocacy in Bern. And this is the list of founding members, which I think is quite a great lineup. We expected, like we said, we're going to start with 2025. We're starting now with 50, and we already have 50 on the waiting list to also become a member. So this has already become quite viral. And it's interesting the variety of, you know, basically you could now all map them to the 4 grids and say, okay, they're coming more from the creator scene, this is more, okay, this is big tech, Meta is in it, etc. So yeah, I'll just finish and then come to the questions. These are coincidentally also the working groups in that association, because that's interesting if you compare it also to blockchain. I mean, with Metaverse, you have a lot of different arenas. Tourism, sport was named here before. There's the whole consumer, retail, fashion, etc. etc. So I think there's going to be many parts of our economy where it's going to play a role, even in banking, right? You saw some companies like Signum are trying it out, but then again, regulation, you know, can I do consumer advisory? Can I talk to my private banking clients in a metaverse, etc.? So a lot of questions. So that's it. I'm going to skip all that. Invite you to, if you're interested, get in touch with us. I also want to mention one slide. This one. This comes from our master of artificial intelligence, Luca Sambucci, who sits in Rome. He's Swiss-Italian. He's been 30 years in the scene, so he's been 30 years in cybersecurity. He created the first Italian ISP, so he knows what digital means, and he created this slide for us. And this is freaking scary. It shows you the newly created data per year, and we are on the still flat slope, right? And then I have added singularity. That's not coming from him, because I'm a Ray Kurzweil fan. I say somewhere 2035 we're going to have the singularity point. This is scary, but this makes, in a sense if you think of the metaverse, right? Creating the metaverse is a huge amount of data. You have a retail store in the metaverse. You don't have to install cameras to see how the users move. No, it's all in bytes, bits and bytes, 0 and 1s. You can all analyze it, you can data mine it. So the amount of data that gets freshly created, and that is probably interesting for someone to analyze, is going to get huge. And in this environment, anyone who tells me we're not going to use blockchain, we're not going to use AI to manage that, it's basically not going to happen. Thank you very much, and I'm looking at this. By the way, our AI collaborator, she opens up all the podcasts that we do. Listen to her. I mean, this is, I think, already at the level where if you're not careful and you just watch it on your phone, you would think it's a real human. So it's not just a face where the lips are a bit moving, but it's a fully animated virtual entity. Yeah. So,
okay, thank you very much, Daniel. I would say 1-2 questions, because afterwards you have the panel. There was one question, yeah.
Thank you very much for this great presentation. Really enjoyed it. I have a specific question about the partners. Saw a big list of partners, Swisscom, everyone there. I can't really imagine that they're doing something in the metaverse, so they're probably are partners in the association. Mm-hmm. Did you get some money from them, or did you just get the name from them? Did you just want to be a part of it because it's hip? What was the reason? I'm really interested about that.
Sure. So you'd be actually surprised. Every new member had to fill out a questionnaire and even send a link to some metaverse projects that they did, because we didn't just want to gather logos. And I would say about 2/3 of them already have live stuff or have done projects in the metaverse already. The other Leicester, they just say, for us it's such a huge priority, we want to be in it. The association is not a company, it's kind of a non-profit Verein, so it's not like we're gathering money from membership fees. But I think that the topic is just very, very exciting. And a lot of these companies haven't maybe gone public with whatever they do in the metaverse, but many of them are looking at it. This is also what I see as a consultant. We get a lot of requests to, can we do exploratorily this or that? And honestly, I don't have any problem with that. I think this is how you should approach the metaverse. It's like children learn. You need to be playful and just try it out. Don't take the classic, org chart approach and say, first we do step 1 and step 2 and step. No, just go in there, explore. If you feel like you play so rare, then you check out Roblox, and next time you go into the sandbox. I think being playful and trying out stuff is a good way to approach the metaverse, because the complexity is huge.
Just one.
Guido, about the boat, about the boat.
No, not the boat.
No?
For me, it looks a little bit, to see it from a critical point of view, as for many people to escape the real world and the real problems, to go there and spend. It's $1 billion market, but the escape. Who is paying for the socialization of these people to the real world then?
Yeah, it's a question for the panel. Sorry, we have a panel afterwards. It's a really great question for the panel. That's great. Thank you very much for your contribution, Daniel.